Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. Well, there have been requests for an update to the Alex Mauer situation with ever-increasing frequency. I've refrained because, to be honest, there really hasn't been anything worthwhile to report on. In spite of multiple games being targeted by Mauer, the number of DMCAs had trickled off as it seemed that Mauer's well had run dry. Both Starr Mazer DSP and River City Ransom Underground are both still on the Steam storefront, and the DMCA strikes against the YouTubers and Twitch streamers have all essentially been resolved or reversed. For over a month, I've received no new reports of further DMCA strikes against any content creators, and people's lives have mostly been allowed to return to normal. However, the deadlines set by the judge are up in a week, and on the 25th, Alex Mauer is required to file a response to the complaints filed by Leonard French on behalf of Imagos Softworks. This lawsuit is in order to establish that Imagos does own the copyright to all works created for Starr Mazer DSP, specifically any and all work Alex Mauer performed for any titles developed by Imagos when Mauer was employed by them. This will establish beyond a shadow of a doubt that Mauer does not own any of the content that has been the basis of the DMCA strikes that Mauer had filed. Now, as a refresher, or for those of you that aren't aware, this situation arose when Mauer had begun issuing DMCA strikes against streams and Let's Plays that contained any content created by Mauer for the game Starr Mazer DSP. And when those content creators that were affected reached out to Mauer to complain directly and attempt to get the DMCA strikes removed, Mauer attempted to direct them to Imagos Softworks. This was a deliberate attempt to beat the content creators over the head with a spurious use of the DMCA system in an attempt to weaponize those content creators against Imagos Softworks in order to apply public pressure on them so Mauer would be able to extort money from them for work that was not performed. This led to an ever-increasing escalation that resulted in over 100 channels being affected and a total of nearly 200 DMCA strikes filed between YouTube and Twitch content creators, and those were only the ones that we're aware of. And since then, Mauer's seeming mental deterioration has continued. Now, most channels have refrained on reporting on that due to the conscious decision made not to provide Mauer a continued platform that would serve no purpose but to further hasten the visible mental illness exhibited by Mauer. This was both out of a concern for a person's life and well-being along with others as well, especially considering Mauer had threatened both my life and the life of Leonard French, albeit Mauer was far more graphic in terms of how she would kill him than me. Since Mauer fired her first attorney for apparently, quote, misgendering her, the judge set the following stipulations. The first was that by August 25th, Mauer would retain legal counsel. This gave Mauer a very generous month in order to be able to prepare for this case that is very heavily in favor of Imagos Softworks. The judge also gave Mauer a further month to prepare an official response, which falls on the 25th of this month, a week from now. These 2 months were exceptionally generous to Mauer on the part of the judge, seemingly out of a desire to give Mauer the best chance possible to be able to mitigate the damage that is sure to come from Leonard French's prepared arguments. And it would seem that Mauer has completely squandered this time, even to the point of stating that no lawyer has been retained. Of course, Mauer also stated that she does not believe this lawsuit to be real, or anything to be real anymore for that matter. Indeed, Mauer's online presence has been a veritable whirlwind of nonsensical statements and imagery that apparently make sense to Mauer, but no sane person would ever be able to connect the dots. In fact, the only time I have ever seen a person act in such a fashion was when they were meth addicts. Now, this is by no means a statement that Mauer is on drugs, but I have seen amphetamine addiction do similar things to people and make them act in very similar ways. But regardless, with no attorney to provide opposition, Leonard will most likely push for a summary judgment in favor of Imagos Softworks. I actually wonder if Mauer will even bother to respond to the court summons at this point in time. If so, then a summary judgment will all but be assured, and Mauer would then potentially be facing contempt of court charges for failure to appear. And a lot of people have asked what this will mean and what will this accomplish. Well, it will prove that Mauer has no copyright claim on any of the content in relation to works by Imagos Softworks. This will mean that Don Thacker and his company will no longer have to look over their shoulders waiting for the next Alex Mauer fit of pique to rear its ugly head and risk their entire company. Also, this will have a definitive effect on any content creators that would wish to pursue legal action against Mauer. If copyright ownership resides with Imagos, as it should, then that would mark every last one of the DMCA claims filed by Mauer as being issued under a false assertion. And as Mauer did not own the copyright, that is a series of potential charges of perjury that number in the triple digits. Now, that's not to say that there will be that many cases filed by content creators. In fact, there's a very strong possibility that there will not be any at all. Very few have expressed any interest in pursuing legal action against malware, and as a few months have passed, a large portion of them will most likely be content to leave well enough alone, which is traditionally the case with issues like false DMCA strikes. You see, it's expensive to pursue a lawsuit, even when both parties reside in the same country, which is the case we have here in many instances. And as that it is so expensive, there will be a troubling few, if any at all, willing to pursue this all the way. Which I honestly feel is a shame, really. You see, I don't really have much sympathy for malware left, if I'm to be completely honest. Malware had received offers of help and expressions of concern from multiple avenues, including from me, and they were all rebuffed, sometimes with verbal attacks and death threats for our troubles. Now, to be honest, if YouTube had allowed the one attempted DMCA that malware had tried to file against me for showing a corner of a photocopy of a birth certificate sent to me by malware because it showed the name Alex Thomas Malware, then I would most definitely be pursuing a lawsuit myself. But I can't. The DMCA did not go through. So now we have to rely on other content creators to pursue lawsuits if they can. Will they? Well, we'll see. But I honestly hope that they do. Because we've seen too many times this year alone the DMCA system being wielded like a club. Its original design was to be a shield, one to protect people's copyrights from the predations of pirates and would-be thieves of intellectual property. It was designed to offer recourse to those copyright holders in the face of an internet that was, and sometimes still is, a very anarchistic environment in most respects. But now we see it more often than not used as a weapon, to be used to deliberately cause harm, not to protect from it. Companies or individuals like Nintendo, Matt Haas, Alex Maurer, Digital Homicide, Dentola Studios, Dallas Games, Wild Game Studios, Camposanto, and so many others use it for an attack. They use it in order to silence content creators and chastise them for the temerity to say or do something they did not like. Well, now, barely a week remains before Alex Maurer's predations, at least when it comes to Starr Mazer DSP content, will finally come to an end, and not a moment too soon. I will update everyone as soon as we receive word in how things turn out, but for now, I highly doubt there will be too much to report on. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.